Hello everyone, Mythic here, and today we are back again with another video. This time we're going to be talking about the differences between Medieval 2 Total War and the Total War Attila mod 1212 AD. So, Medieval 2 was released in 2006, while 1212 AD, the mod, was released in the later part of 2019, around December, with 13 years apart of these games. Let's see how they stack up in the medieval category, as you would say. So I'm gonna start with some very basic, like, uncategorized differences. So 1212 has a better HRE system than Medieval 2 because Medieval 2 has them as a singular entity, a single faction. Well, in 1212 there is an HRE faction with a bunch of duchies that are vassalized under that HRE faction. However, unlike Medieval 2, their papal system for 1212 AD is much worse. So in Medieval 2 you have cardinals, you can run for the Pope. However, in 1212 you cannot, but you do have papal favor, which you can raise, and there are decisions that will allow you to ask for money from the Pope. So I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room, I think. Graphics. Now, it's really not even a competition which has better graphics. It's obviously 1212 AD. The game looks beautiful. Total War Attila looks very nice despite its poor optimization. The generals look nice, the units look amazing, everything looks nice, even the cities and the art, in my opinion. And the units. Nearly every faction is playable, so there are hundreds of units that you can come across in the mod, and they all have rosters with like 30 units, so there are different types of units, there's like a lot of unique units, and so those all need textures, so the units look awesome in the battlefield. And just because there's so many factions, there are 57 playable factions in 1212 AD, as opposed to Medieval 2's 17 playable factions and 20 in total. In 1212 you can play as a European major to a Muslim powerhouse in the east, and then an Eastern horde too if you really wanted. And let's be honest here, who doesn't want to play as an Eastern horde? Buildings. So buildings are custom. Buildings in both games kind of have their own custom thing. In Medieval 2 they look more like actual buildings, while in 1212 they look like a realistic art style. Or not realistic, but just an art style. And that's really up to whichever one you like more. I like the art style, the artistic part personally. I think that looks very good in the game. And but that's really up to preference. And soundtrack. Now, soundtrack is extremely important in a Total War game, as anyone can tell you. And let's be honest here, Medieval 2 wins. 1212 AD uses the exact same stuff as Medieval 2, but just because Medieval 2, the music was specifically written for it, and Medieval 2 used it first, I think Medieval 2 has to certainly win in this category. And then the gameplay. So, Medieval 2 and 1212 are very similar when it comes to battles. You have, your starting skirmish, followed by an infantry fight, and then a cavalry engagement. And the same thing, like in Medieval 2, whoever wins the cavalry fight is going to win the battle. And the same thing happens in 1212 AD. If you win the cavalry fight on the flanks and flank the enemy infantry, you've basically won the battle. So I find that superior cavalry is a great thing to have. But I also find that 1212 AD is much harder than Medieval 2, because the AI is much better in 1212 AD than it is in Medieval 2, and 1212 AD isn't exactly balanced. So what I mean by that is a lot of times you will have super weak factions by super strong factions, like the Crusader states by the Fatimids. The Fatimids are the strongest starting faction, and the Crusader states are definitely some of the weakest. However, I find that makes for a really fun campaign. You can have a lot of fun as the Crusader Knights taking out the Fatimids. It's a hard campaign, but when you get it done, it's really rewarding. In Medieval 2, it doesn't really have that kind of feeling because you basically just win the game by steamrolling everybody in your path, and it's not too hard when you have such low faction variety, and there's not as much stuff left up to chance. The real hard parts of Medieval 2 are really the Mongols and the Timurids, and if you're not in the east, they aren't really a problem for you. But I think that makes the 1212 AD campaign a real, like, it makes you feel really good when you beat it. You feel really great. You get this sense of accomplishment. And your empire can be torn down through public order stuff, so you need to make sure that you don't expand too much. So really, overall, despite the nostalgia and immense fun I gained from Medieval 2, I think I have to concede that 1212 AD is just much better. It's a much better version of Medieval 2. However, that does not change my opinion that Medieval 2 is the best Total War game of all time. But both games are very fun. I definitely recommend 1212 AD if you haven't played that to go give it a chance. I also recommend Medieval 2 if you haven't played that. You really need to play Medieval 2. It's a great game. So if you guys enjoyed, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and Mythic out.